That is correct. Fellow Taoist Chi Meng and I discovered these reincarnation palace cultivators sneaking into the Nine Origins temple earlier. Sensing ill intent, we trailed them here to uncover their purpose, Huo Yuan said, backing Chi Meng without hesitation. Taoist Master Chen Jun clearly did not believe them, yet he chose not to expose the lie. Both Chi Meng and Huo Yuan were figures one could scarcely touch. Chi Meng held a lofty position within the heavenly court and was supported by Tao ancestor Qi Rong himself. Even had she admitted ulterior motives, Chun Jun would not have dared act against her. As for Huo Yuan, he was the mountain master of Hundred Creations Mountain. Though lacking a Tao ancestor, the mountain maintained deep ties to the heavenly court. Those who had crossed it in the past met grim ends, and all knew it functioned as a subordinate power of the heavenly court. Aware of the fragile balance, Taoist Master Chun Jun proceeded carefully. If he forced these two into a corner and drove them to ally with the reincarnation palace, matters would spiral beyond control. Very well. Stand stand aside for now. Once these reincarnation palace villains are eradicated, you will be free to leave, he said evenly. Qi Meng and Huo Yuan felt a weight lift from their hearts and drifted toward a corner of the palace. Despite their status, they remained within Nine Origins Temple. If Chun Jun chose force, they would still be at his mercy. Mountain Master Huo, is that vial the treasure refined by your former Mountain Master? Chi Meng asked via voice transmission. With the clash temporarily abated, the hostility between them had eased. It is indeed a vial, Huo Yuan replied. But after further refinement by the Nine Origins Temple, its appearance changed completely. I barely recognized it. What do you think the Nine Origins Temple intends to do with it? Chi Meng asked. Who can say what those old foxes scheme? Only by inspecting it myself could I guess their aims, Huo Yuan answered. Chi Meng cast a thoughtful glance toward the reincarnation palace cultivators. At the same time, Han Li's thoughts churned as he searched for a path out of this desperate situation. He could escape through transmigration alone, but Nangong Wan had inexplicably forgotten him and now regarded him with caution. She would almost certainly refuse to leave with him, and Wu Yang, Worm 3, and the others would never allow him to take her by force. He looked toward Wu Yang, only to see him conversing with Worm 3 and the others via voice transmission. The sight irritated Han Li. Though nominally a member of the Reincarnation Palace, he was being deliberately excluded. Clearly, they had never truly treated him as an ally. Then again, he had never trusted them either. The distrust ran both ways. As the thought lingered, a strange feeling welled up within him. Ever since joining the Blaze Dragon Tao, it was as though unseen hands were guiding his fate, pushing him along unseen paths. Seeing Nangong Wan had only intensified this sensation, making him keenly aware that something was amiss. He had never been one to accept control. He wanted to grasp his own destiny firmly. Taoist Master Chun Jun turned his gaze toward Wu Yang and the others, but before he could speak, the Reincarnation Palace cultivators suddenly moved as one. Shi Kongmo and Lu Chuanfeng transformed into black and blue streaks of light, lunging toward Chun Jun's trio. With rapid flicks of his fingers, Shi Kongmo sent dozens of black sword projections screaming through the air. Each blade bore sinister black eyes glowing with eerie light, silent and insubstantial as phantoms. At the same moment, Lu Chuanfeng spat out a sphere of blue light while weaving swift hand seals. Streams of incantation seals vanished into the sphere, which promptly exploded into countless slender blue ice needles that poured down like a frozen storm. Taoist Master Chun Jun remained unmoved. With a cold sneer, he raised both hands, sending twin bursts of golden light into the palace walls. Rays of gold also surged from the tablets held by Yang Junzi and Taoist Master Lei Jun, merging into the structure. The palace's golden barrier rippled violently, waves of obstructive light sweeping outward. Lu Chuanfeng's ice needles vanished upon contact, while Shi Kongmo's black swords pierced through several layers before rapidly fading. Shi Kongmo's expression shifted. He changed his hand seals, and the swords dissolved into thin black threads, piercing the golden light far more efficiently. Though still weakening, they reached Chun Jun's trio in an instant. The three retreated hastily, as Lu Chuanfeng flung his sleeves, releasing massive chunks of blue ice that hurtled like falling stars. The golden light proved less adept at devouring such solid masses, Gaping holes were torn into it, halting its advance. Meanwhile, Worm 3, Wu Yang, and Rushuang broke away in another direction. Worm 3's voice echoed in Han Li's mind. Fellow Taoist Han, I have a way out. I need your help. Han Li did not hesitate. Together they rushed toward one of the palace walls. Yang Junzi's expression darkened. He pointed from afar, and the golden light on that wall flared. Countless massive golden feelers burst forth, sweeping toward them. We need to buy time for Zhen, Wu Yang shouted, summoning a giant golden sword blazing with light. With a mighty swing, 1,000-foot arc of sword chi cleaved through more than a dozen feelers. Most were severed, but the sword chi shrank and dimmed. The remaining feelers coiled around it like spirit serpents, draining its power until it vanished into them entirely. These feelers devour immortal spiritual power and law energy. Stay alert! Wu Yang warned, slashing at another cluster. Rushuang joined in, drawing a serpentine saber to replace her shattered mirror. Dark red saber projections flashed forth, cutting down several feelers, yet even these reincarnation law-infused attacks were gradually consumed. After a brief pause, Han Li raised his arms. Profound acupoints flared, his limbs swelling as his fingers lengthened and thickened. With rapid flicks, he unleashed countless blades of compressed air. They struck the remaining golden feelers, tearing them apart effortlessly, leaving no chance for resistance. Just as he had anticipated, those golden feelers were only capable of devouring energy, utterly ineffective against pure physical force. The blades of air he unleashed were nothing more than compressed gales formed by the terrifying strength of his fingers, devoid of any immortal spiritual power, making them the perfect bane of the feelers. The remaining 3 Reincarnation Palace cultivators were taken aback by this discovery, but Worm 3 swiftly refocused. With a sweep of her sleeve, she released a purple bead that rapidly swelled to the size of a millstone before smashing into the wall. It burst apart into a mass of viscous purple liquid that clung tightly to the surface, spreading across an area of roughly 10 feet. Her expression was cold and intent as she cast a series of seals into the liquid. At once, it writhed like a living thing, radiating strands of purple light. The golden glow coating the wall was immediately swallowed by the liquid, revealing that it too possessed the power to devour spiritual energy. As the liquid expanded, consuming the wall's power, a section at its center was laid bare, its surface stained pale purple and riddled with fine cracks. That's the myriad poison Tao ancestor's origin devouring poison bead, Taoist Master Chen Jun cried out. Did you think we'd come this deep into the 9 Origins Temple unprepared? Lu Chuanfeng laughed. Yang Junzi and Taoist Master Lei Jun exchanged grim looks before charging straight at Worm 3 and her companions. Come back here! Lu Chuanfeng bellowed. Brilliant blue light erupted around him as he flung both sleeves forward. With a thunderous crack, an enormous wall of blue ice materialized, cleaving the palace cleanly in 2. The Reincarnation Palace group stood on one side, while Taoist Master Chen Jun, Taoist Master Lei Jun, Qi Meng, and Huo Yuan were sealed off on the other. Lu Chuanfeng's face drained of color, the strain of summoning such a barrier evident. Unable to halt his momentum, Yang Junzi slammed heavily into the ice wall, yet it did not so much as tremble. Taoist Master Chen Jun and Taoist Master Lei Jun hastily manipulated the palace's golden light to gnaw at the ice, but progress was painfully slow. This was no ordinary barrier. With their pursuers blocked, Shi Kongmo and Lu Chuanfeng joined Worm 3. At that moment, she continued guiding the purple liquid while producing a golden nail. It expanded to nearly 10 feet in length, thick as a millstone, before shooting forward as a blur of gold and striking the exposed section of wall. The nail sank only half a foot before stopping cold. The palace was built from heaven-end gold rock, fused to the entire 9 Origins Palace. The poison could strip surface power, but no deeper. Suddenly, Wu Yang flashed in behind the nail and smashed a fist into its flat end with a furious roar. As Lu Chuanfeng held the golden feelers at bay, a heavy boom echoed as the nail drove another half-foot inward, yet still failed to break through. Impossible, Wu Yang shouted in disbelief. Move! A massive force swept him aside, and Han Li appeared behind the nail. Nearly 1,800 profound acupoints across his body flared to life as an unfathomable surge of power erupted outward, whipping the air into raging tempests. Realization dawned on Qi Meng and Huo Yuan. Changqi was Han Li all along. Chi-Meng exclaimed, while Taoist Master Chun-Jun snapped her gaze toward him. Han Li ignored them. With a deep roar, he condensed all the star power within him into his right arm and drove a devastating punch into the nail. A deafening explosion followed as the wall shattered in one strike. A second punch sent the golden nail flying completely free, leaving behind a gaping hole. The backlash hurled Han Li backward, forcing him to stagger nearly 20 steps before regaining his footing. Deep within the Nine Origins Palace, inside a modest room furnished only with bamboo chairs and stools, a gray-robed old man suddenly appeared. Short and thin, clad in coarse linen, his hunched figure resembled nothing more than an aging janitor, only his eyes stood out, keen and sharp like a hawk's. "I didn't expect them to breach the Brightwheel Palace walls," he murmured in surprise. Glancing skyward, he added calmly, "Night is approaching. It's time to end this farce." With that, he vanished. Back in the palace, Worm 3 shouted, "Go!" and immediately flew through the hole, abandoning the purple liquid without hesitation. Wu Yang, Lu Chuanfeng, and Shi Kongmo followed at once. Ru Shuang, positioned slightly farther back, was just about to pursue when a dozen translucent chains of spiritual sense burst forth from Han Li's glabella, binding her in place. "What are you doing?" she roared. Worm 3 and the others halted in alarm, but they were already too far away to intervene. "I'm sorry, Wanner," Han Li said softly. "I don't know why you forgot me, but I can't let you leave with them." More chains plunged into her consciousness, forming a spiritual cage around her soul. Her struggles ceased, her eyes turning vacant. Han Li raised his hand to draw her into his flower branch domain, but in that instant, an intensely bright, translucent light exploded from her body, sweeping outward like a tidal wave. The chains shattered instantly, and the cage within her mind was torn apart. Before Han Li could react, the light struck him head-on, blasting him away as blood sprayed from his mouth. As soon as Rushuang was freed, the light vanished as abruptly as it had appeared. "Are you all right?" Worm 3 and Wu Yang rushed back, shock clear on their faces. "I'm fine," Rushuang replied calmly. "Then we leave now," Wu Yang urged, grabbing her as he fled. Worm 3 cast one last conflicted glance at Han Li, but with golden feelers closing in once more, she turned and departed. Taoist Master Chun-Jun and the others could only watch helplessly from behind the ice wall. "You think you can escape so easily?" An elderly voice rang out, soft yet carrying supreme authority. Instantly, golden light flooded the palace, engulfing everyone. All were frozen in place like insects trapped in amber, Han Li included. Though ungravely injured, he desperately channeled his time law and physical strength to resist, yet the golden radiance was overwhelming, rendering all effort futile. Worm 3 and the others were equally immobilized, and for the first time, even Shi Kongmo's face turned grim. Just as Han Li and the others were pinned in place by the surging golden radiance, a gray-robed elderly man appeared within the palace without warning. "Esteemed patriarch," Taoist Master Chun-Jin and the other two were overjoyed at the sight, while Han Li's heart sank. In the entire Nine Origins Temple, only one person bore such a title, the legendary Nine Origins Tao ancestor. The elderly man ignored Chun-Jin completely. With a casual beckon toward Rushuang, the five-colored vial flew from her storage ring and drifted toward him. Yet midway through its flight, space tore apart, and a massive dark red hand thrust out from the rift, seizing the vial. The gray-robed elder remained expressionless. He flicked his sleeve, summoning a colossal golden hand that slammed down toward the intruder. In response, the dark red hand formed a seal, and 6 obscure runes flared into existence, briefly halting the golden hand. The elder's pupils tightened slightly at the sight. In that instant, the dark red hand swept up Worm 3's group, a vortex blooming in its palm, as it swallowed all 5 before racing toward Han Li. Only then did anger surface on the gray-robed man's face. He grasped the air, drawing forth a golden metal whip radiating boundless might, and lashed it forward. A dull boom echoed as the dark red hand burst into crimson mist, accompanied by a faint, pained groan. The red light dispersed into nothingness. The entire exchange unfolded in the blink of an eye. Even Taoist Master Chun-Jun failed to follow it fully, and by the time he reacted, it was already over. The gray-robed elder stared coldly at the empty space for a moment, but made no move to pursue. He then swept his sleeve again. The golden light rippled, shattering the wall of blue ice, and faded away. Everyone was freed, except Han Li, who remained utterly immobilized. Taoist Master Chun Jun's trio hurried over and bowed deeply, as did Qi Meng and Huo Yuan, though unease filled their faces. Chun Jun, it seems you've taken good care of the temple, the elder said lightly, his tone dripping with authority. I failed to detect the Reincarnation Palace's scheme. I accept any punishment, Chun Jun replied, trembling as he kowtowed, with the others following suit. There are outsiders present. We'll settle this later. Go and eradicate the remaining intruders, the elder ordered coldly. Yes, esteemed patriarch. The trio departed at once. Turning to Qi Meng and Huo Yuan, the elder smiled. Sorry you had to witness such incompetence. The Reincarnation Palace is formidable. It's impressive Chun Jun mounted such resistance, Qi Meng replied stiffly, while Huo Yuan dared not speak. Is that so? Perhaps I should reward him instead, the elder laughed. His laughter grew thunderous, shaking the palace. Qi Meng, Huo Yuan, and even their souls began to tremble uncontrollably. No defense availed them, and Han Li suffered the same torment while still unable to move. A red light suddenly enveloped Qi Meng and Huo Yuan, easing their agony. A projection of a red-haired elderly woman emerged. What's made you so agitated, fellow Taoist Nine Origins? The gray-robed man's laughter subsided as he stared in surprise. Another Tao ancestor? The resemblance to Qi Meng was unmistakable. Tao ancestor Qi Rong. Qi Rong, who instructed your granddaughter to infiltrate my temple and steal from me, he asked coldly. It's a misunderstanding. She was ordered to capture Han Li and a gold-devouring immortal and wandered here by chance. She merely grew curious about the vial, Qi Rong replied calmly. You think words suffice? He snapped. Qi Rong frowned, then conceded. How do you wish to settle this? Without answering, the gray-robed elder shot twin beams of golden light from his eyes at Qi Meng and Huo Yuan. Furious, Qi Rong struck with her cane. One beam pierced through it, weakened, and sank into Qi Meng's glabella. She screamed in agony. The other beam struck Huo Yuan directly. His body convulsed, his head bursting apart as he collapsed lifelessly. Qi Rong hastily shielded Qi Meng with red light, silencing her cries, then glared at the gray-robed man. I'll spare her this once, he sneered. Let her offend my temple again, and mercy will vanish. With a sweep of his sleeve, Qi Meng and Huo Yuan's corpse were flung from the palace. Han Li watched in stunned silence. Beneath the elder's mild appearance lay ruthless decisiveness. Realizing his own fate could mirror Huo Yuan's, Han Li desperately searched for escape, but found none. The Nine Origins Tao ancestor approached slowly, hands clasped behind his back. Meeting his gaze felt like staring into bottomless wells. He circled Han Li once, as though examining prey, before turning away and summoning a vast golden barrier. The palace vanished, replaced by an oppressive golden sphere that severed all outside connections. Han Li found himself cut off from Jin Tong, Weeping, Soul, Xiaobai, even his azure bamboo cloud swarm swords. The vile spirit fell silent as well, extinguishing any hope of escape. After a long, suffocating silence, the unease in Han Li's heart finally overflowed, and he opened his mouth. Senior. Yet before a single word could leave him, the elderly man moved like a flash of lightning. His hand reached out, grasping toward Han Li's chest. Golden light shimmered in midair as the heaven-controlling vial was forcibly drawn out from beneath Han Li's robe, floating obediently into the old man's palm. Han Li's body trembled. None but he himself understood what the heaven-controlling vial meant to him. From the days of the Seven Mysteries sect in the Immortal Realm to his present cultivation, every step of his path had been marked by this treasure. Without it, there would be no Han Li of today. Yet, before this elderly man, he was no different from a child facing a towering mountain, utterly incapable of resistance. With all his strength, time law attainments, and powerful spiritual sense, he could contend with great encompassment cultivators despite being only at the early stage, but a Tao ancestor remained far beyond his reach. He could only watch as the elderly man examined the vial, fingers gently tracing the patterns on its surface. His gaze filled with a strange tenderness, as though reunited with something lost long ago. After a time, a subtle change flickered through the old man's eyes, before vanishing just as quickly. Han Li caught it nonetheless and wondered if the vile spirit had exchanged words with him. Moments later, The elderly man released a faint sigh and turned his attention back to Han Li. In the blink of an eye, the heavy restraints binding Han Li unraveled of their own accord. Even freed, Han Li remained tense, staring warily at the old man. Yet the next action left him stunned. With a casual flick of his wrist, the elderly man tossed the heaven-controlling vial back. Han Li caught it instinctively, staring at him in disbelief. From this day onward, this treasure will draw ever greater calamity. Losing it back then was not necessarily misfortune, nor is regaining it today a blessing. It is far too heavy for the Nine Origins Temple to bear. If you wish to keep it, then keep it, the elderly man said calmly. A strange light flashed through Han Li's eyes, but without hesitation, he hung the vial back around his neck and tucked it into his robes. Suppressing the many questions in his heart, he asked the most urgent one. Does this mean you won't kill me, Senior? You may leave the Nine Origins Temple safely today. For a time, none of our cultivators will pursue you. However, beyond that, you will remain a wanted fugitive. If you ever set foot in the Golden Origin Immortal region again, you will be hunted, the elderly man replied. Han Li hesitated, then asked, I know I shouldn't press further, but may I ask why you are letting me go? Some matters are ordained and cannot be altered, even across reincarnation. Since the heavenly Tao has led you before me today, it means I must repay a debt and sever our karmic ties, the old man said, a distant look surfacing in his eyes. Han Li grew even more confused. Are you saying you owe me a favor, Senior? At your cultivation, you can only see the course of this lifetime. Even if I explained our entanglements across reincarnation, you would not comprehend them. All you need to know is that once the debt is repaid, our karma is finished, the elderly man replied, his expression visibly lighter. Han Li ventured a guess. Then, did someone aid you in a past life whose soul reincarnated into me? The elderly man looked briefly surprised, but neither confirmed nor denied it. Release the gold-devouring immortal? I wish to speak with her. At once, Han Li felt his connection to Jin Tong restored. After a brief pause, he complied, believing the old man would not harm her. Jin Tong appeared in a flash of golden light. Upon seeing the elderly man, she exclaimed without restraint, What are you doing here, old man? The elderly man chuckled in surprise. You've grown quite a bit in such a short time. Uncle, this is the old man I told you about, Jin Tong said cheerfully to Han Li. Han Li nearly panicked. Watch your manners, Jin Tong. This is the patriarch of the Nine Origins Temple. The elderly man waved it off. Jin Tong, I've taken a liking to you. I'm willing to make an exception and accept you as my disciple. Would you stay in the Nine Origins Temple? Han Li's expression shifted. He was about to warn her when Jin Tong refused outright. No way. I finally escaped the Ghost Valley. I'm not going back. You would be my disciple, not a prisoner, equal in seniority to Chun Jun, the elderly man pressed. I still refuse, Jin Tong said firmly. I already have a master, and I won't follow anyone else. Very well, the elderly man said with a smile. Take this as a gift. He produced a golden pill the size of a long gun and tossed it to her. Thanks, old man. You're really nice. Jin Tong grinned, leaving Han Li speechless. Go, the elderly man said, sweeping his sleeve and releasing a metal disc that radiated silver light. A door of light opened, revealing a boundless blue sea beyond. Let's go, Han Li said, guiding Jin Tong forward. At the threshold, he turned back. May I ask your name, Senior? My name, Li Yuanju, the elderly man replied. Han Li froze. In the next instant, a gust swept him and Jin Tong through the door. They stood upon the vast sea as the old man's voice echoed behind them. Never return to the Nine Origins Temple. Farewell. The door vanished. Uncle, where do we go now? Jin Tong asked. Receiving no answer, she turned to see Han Li standing motionless, shock etched across his face. His mind was consumed by the name Li Yuanju. Long ago, during his first spiritual transmigration, like he had inhabited Ling Yunzi's body. That man's disciple had been named Li Yuanju. He had personally passed down the provenance true devil arts and heaven-bearing devil arts to him. Was this the debt being repaid? Yet, how could Li Yuanju have seen through such secrets at the time? Then Han Li recalled the old man's words. The cycle of reincarnation. Reincarnation stood shoulder to shoulder with space and time as one of the three supreme laws governing heaven and earth, yet among them it was the most unfathomable. All other laws were, in one way or another, linked to these three. Since antiquity, reincarnation had been cloaked in mystery, touching upon rebirth and the continuation of life. Cultivators sought immortality precisely to escape this endless cycle, while mortals were destined to fall back into it upon death. As for what truly awaited within that cycle, no one could say for certain. Han Li pondered that traces of his own aura might still linger within the cultivation arts he had once implanted into Li Yuanju's mind, leading the latter to believe himself the reincarnation of Ling Yunzi. Now, Li Yuanju was a Tao ancestor whom even the heavenly court treated with courtesy. Yet, he still harbored deep respect for his former master. Perhaps Han Li's survival had indeed been written into the designs of fate. Uncle, what are you daydreaming about? Where are we going next? Jin Tong asked, tugging at his arm playfully. Han Li snapped back to reality and swept his gaze across the surroundings. Finding nothing but endless oceans stretching to the horizon, he retrieved the map of the Nine Origins temple that Lan Yan had given him and pressed it to his glabella. After a brief inspection, he said, "It seems we've already left the Nine Origins temple. Still, we should depart the greater Golden Origin Immortal region as soon as possible, just to be safe." With that decision made, he sped off in a chosen direction with Jin Tong at his side. Months passed in the blink of an eye. Within a strange, murky gray realm, a dark red river surged upstream. A graceful woman in flowing azure robes flew against the current, her figure pressed down by the immense might of the great Tao. She was none other than Worm 3. This was her first time physically entering this realm, and the oppressive force made every advance arduous. 5 other rivers ran parallel to the one beneath her, each distinct in color and temperament. Worm 3 did not dare spare them a glance. After what felt like an eternity and hundreds of kilometers, a crystal arch bridge finally emerged at the convergence point of the 6 rivers. Unlike before, the woman in black was nowhere to be seen. Only the Reincarnation Palace Master sat upon the bridge, clad in his bamboo hat and heavy cloak, back slightly hunched as he held a bamboo fishing pole. A translucent dark red line trailed from its end into the river below. Worm 3 pays her respects to the Palace Master, she said, bowing deeply upon reaching the bridge. To reach this place unscathed on your first physical transmigration shows notable progress in both cultivation and temperament, the Palace Master replied calmly. Yet there is a faint wound mark on your glabella. Why come before it fully healed? It is but a minor injury, Worm 3 answered. Water wears down stone drip by drip. Minor wounds left unattended can become fatal, he said mildly. Do not underestimate the Nine Origins temple. As he spoke, he lifted his fishing pole. With a sharp twang, the red line sprang free, revealing a translucent crimson fish that leapt straight toward Worm 3's forehead. She instinctively retreated, then halted, allowing the fish to sink into her glabella. Red light blossomed across her brow, threads of crimson radiance coursing beneath her skin. After several breaths, the glow faded. The injury vanished, and more than a dozen immortal acupoints had opened within her body. "Thank you, Palace Master," she said, bowing again, joy evident on her face. "How did the matter go?" he asked. "We secured it," Worm 3 replied succinctly. With a flick of her wrist, the 5-colored vial appeared, radiating powerful spiritual fluctuations. Only then did the Palace Master withdraw his fishing pole and rise. No longer hunched, he stood tall and imposing, though his face remained hidden beneath the cloak's hood. With a casual gesture, the vial flew into his hand. After examining it briefly, he burst into laughter. "What amuses you, Palace Master?" Worm 3 asked in confusion. "You've all been deceived by Li Yuanju," he said, tossing the vial back. "This is nothing more than a counterfeit." Worm 3 paled and dropped to her knees. "Please forgive me, Palace Master. I was unaware." "You are not at fault," he replied calmly. "Even I could not tell you precisely what to seek. This imitation heaven-controlling vial is exquisitely made and rivals a second-tier immortal treasure. Being fooled is hardly surprising. Please grant us another chance. I will retrieve the original," Worm 3 pleaded. "After the chaos we caused, infiltration is no longer possible," he said. "Moreover, Li Yuanju personally confronted you, yet still allowed you to leave unharmed. That itself is a gesture we cannot ignore." "You mean he let us go deliberately?" Worm 3 asked, startled. "There are 2 reasons," the Palace Master said. "One, to show that the Nine Origins Temple does not wish to become our mortal enemy. 2 to prove his own innocence. Understanding dawned on Worm 3. The Heavenly Court had dispatched investigators, one of whom was slain, and the vial had been seized publicly. With that, suspicion would naturally shift away from the Nine Origins Temple. Li Yuanju is clever, Detz, the palace master, continued. The true heaven-controlling vial once drew the envy of countless powers. Creating a replica after its loss seems logical. Unfortunately for him, the Heavenly Court will not be so easily deceived. After hesitating, Worm 3 asked softly, "May I ask what the Nine Origins Temple has created to alarm the Heavenly Court so greatly?" The palace master only smiled and shook his head, and she dared not ask further. Ensure no information about this vial leaks. Cease all operations in the Golden Origin Immortal region, he instructed. Instead, stir turmoil in neighboring regions to divert attention. Seeing her confusion, he explained, "As long as no truth is revealed, the Heavenly Court can only guess. The more they guess, the deeper the rift between them, and the Nine Origins Temple will grow." Worm 3's eyes lit with understanding. "All we need is to plant doubt," the palace master said, gazing toward the 6 diverging rivers. "It will grow on its own. Time is short, and there is much yet to be done."